I'm Kyle Meredith. So happy to have Josh Tillman back on. Father John Misty, as his mama calls him.
Yep.
I got that backwards.
As I call my mother.
As you call your mother, Father John
Father
Misty.
John Misty? I did. They were delicious. Thank you. I love you too. Never call here again.
That was a Seinfeld thing. His mom calls and just starts talking all at once, and finally about 10 minutes in, he goes, "Who is this?" You can pull that one. I'm glad to have you back. I Love You Honeybear is a beautiful record. I know the last time we talked, back at Bonnaroo.
We actually started talking about it.
We did, because you said, at that point you said, I'm going to go away for a while. Because at this point, I mean, God, that was a huge campaign you were on in that first record.
Yeah.
And you said, I'm going to go away for a while, I'm going to come back, I'm going to make a love album.
Yeah.
And that's what you said.
I was like just starting that whole process. I had a few of the thing was just starting to take shape.
But it's not really a love album. I mean, it is, but it's not a love album.
It's not about like capital L love.
Yeah.
You know, it isn't like a treatise or something. And I think that for most people, if it was like a kind of, it'd be a very poor advertisement for love. I think most people would kind of run for the hills if they thought that that's what they were in for.
This isn't a full page ad in
Yeah.
a beauty magazine.
I mean, I really think of as that album is like an articulation of the unmasking process of like just the most painful thing that any human can undertake with another person is to like
A relationship.
unmask and intimacy, you know. And I think that's kind of why I was saying at the time, like, you know, that because you were, if I remember correctly, you were saying that conventional wisdom is sort of that like an artist falls in love and becomes content and boring and whatever
and that's what
else.
I was hoping that wouldn't
and
happen.
I was in the middle of all this angst and whatever that was happening, just thinking like that in no way resembles like what I'm currently going through, you know.
But you've never been that type of songwriter, at least not, you know, with these last couple records. In fact, I have it written on my notes here. You know what rope-a-dope is? The Muhammad Ali move, where he kind of shows you one fist and then knocks you out with the other one.
Yeah.
That's how I always saw your songwriting, because, you know, and again, I feel like we're comparing apples to oranges when we talk about you versus
Me
a
and
typical
boxing.
artist.
Yeah.
No, Mitt Romney just had a boxing match last night.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Someone. But no, that's how I saw it, because you never went down that path. You know, it was never about saying, here's the pop song, here's the bridge after the second chorus. I mean, however it was, you were always kind of showing us this and then smacking us around with that. It's, you know, the art of a twist in a song.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that, well, because the whole guiding principle of the thing of my work became talking about personal truth.
Yeah.
And I think that personal truth always lies at the cross section of like a violent contradiction, you know. And I mean, like with this album in particular, it's like, how can you talk about this self-doubt and misery and whatever and have that be like an articulation of what this transformative love means to you, you know. But to me, you know, and I mean that even works its way into the way that I arrange songs or record songs. You know, like Smiling and Astride Me or something, which is this very almost textbook kind of soul like love song or something for the first three verses, but then by the time the back half rolls around, it starts to distort, you know, into this kind of grotesque thing.
And that's what I'm talking about. That's your rope-a-dope moment right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what makes you special.
But that, you know, a lot of these songs, that song in particular, the first few verses were written sort of in the throes of the initial like romance thing, where it's all this like utopian thing.
That love bubble.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And,
it's dangerous, but it's amazing.
But once the unmasking started, which is like what Honeybear is about, is that initial horror of like, oh my God, the dream is over, like, here I am, you know? Once that started to happen, I realized that the way that I was thinking and living and hiding and whatever else made those first 3 verses farcical,
Yeah.
you know? And it was just like, how can I put something I need to put something, I need to leverage something against these sentiments like, there's no need to fear me, I would never try to change you, blah, blah, blah. I need to leverage something against that to make those actually real. And that's like, what's the most cathartic, visceral, gnarly thing that I can reveal about myself? And that, you know, man-child, mama's boy.
Right.
But it works, you know, like.
Do you look at your songwriting, sorry to interrupt you, do you look at your songwriting, it almost sounds silly that I'm asking it this way, as therapy? Is it therapeutic for you? Because once you put it on the record, you'd have to do this.
Yeah.
You talk through all of these problems that you put out there.
Yeah, I felt like I needed therapy after this album.
Really?
Yeah.
You're getting it right here. We have a couch.
Yeah.
You can.
I mean, it's this. I'm not sure what role therapy plays in the whole thing, you know. But
I just thought you just want to get to a place where you're good with yourself. Like most people's problems, if
Yeah.
they've got problems, is they've not settled on themselves yet.
yeah,
They want to be this, or they're scared to be this in public, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I've never taken therapy. I can't speak.
Yeah.
But that's what always seemed to me is like you just need to be good with yourself.
yeah. I mean, I will say that there was like, I mean, you can hear it on the album, like a song like Holy Shit.
Yeah.
That's something that I wrote that tune the day before Emma and I got married, and that really was like sort of an articulation of this realization of like all of this dissonance and all of this intellectualizing of all this, and this like telling myself as like a mantra, telling myself these reasons for which love is farcical, or this like construct, and why the world does not deserve it, and whatever. It's like, this is me waking up from this intellectual dream, you know, and saying like, yeah, it all looks great on paper, it all makes perfect sense, but it no longer describes my reality, you know, and having a reality instead of having some just lexicon of intellectual concepts, like living inside, just living inside your head, you know. So I mean, I think that there was. I'm definitely not in the place that I was when I made that album, and that's a lot. That's kind of why I was calling it a concept album about a guy named Josh Tillman, because in order to perform those songs, I almost have to like inhabit this character that is like Josh Tillman from years 2011 to 2013.
Beck says he always feels like he's covering his own songs. You know,
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, like kind of doing that.
Yeah.
One of the tracks, and it's been talked about, and I feel like I want to say it's been talked about for all the wrong reasons, is Born in the USA. That's what you come out, that's your introduction to it.
Yeah.
And all the conversation was about the laugh track, and it was about this, and I feel like there was opportunities missed upon some more of the obvious ideas of it. The lines Born in the USA,
Yeah.
I don't know if that says a lot about even beyond what you're feeling inside you, but the world we're living in. I mean, does this become a political song for you?
It's about passivity,
Yeah.
you know. And I think that politics are an excuse. Like the failure of intimacy or romance is an excuse. Like the economic stuff in the song, this like, the culture kind of failing on whatever birthright it's promised people. Yeah, I mean,
you talk about unmasking. That's using it in a different way.
Yeah.
It's really a good song about that, about how, to me, and this is my own interpretation, of course, but how we're going about our lives, just trying to live inside the dream, so we don't have to put up with what's really in front of us.
Yeah, and that's ideology,
Right.
and that's what the tune is addressing, and that's why it has such a corny lyric. I mean, you know, "Bored in the USA" is definitely like the worst lyric I've ever written. It's like
Again, I think Bruce would have said the same thing about "Born in the USA."
It's a
too,
pun,
yeah,
you
right.
know. It's a pun on a pun, you know.
Right.
But it's
How everyone
you know,
took that song
but
wrong as well.
but in order to pierce this membrane of ideology and this slick talking, and because a lot of the song does, I think for a lot of people, lull them into a sense of disenfranchisement or indignance about like their. I mean, I think that's where a lot of the laughter and the cheering comes from. A lot of the time is like, especially early on when I started playing it, was
You say
this,
people
like,
did that
this
where it
being
was
like,
supposed to, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
which was truly unsettling. But that I think that chorus is meant to draw attention to the fact that it's like these are insipid complaints.
Yeah.
You know, and the mandate to like create a soul and to create a sense of meaning in this life rests with the individual, you know, and it does, and it loosely ties in with the rest of the album because the whole album ultimately is about creating meaning for yourself, you know, and so much of the acknowledgement of like, you know, and like I went to the store like saying like, let's put an end to our endless progressive tendency to scorn provincial concepts. Like there's all these acknowledgments of like love is just this like well-worn territory, like love songs is this well-worn territory. It's all these empty symbols and empty cliches and whatever, and it's like, yeah, it is all empty. Like you have to make it for yourself. Like you have to create your own meaning in these things, or it's not going to exist.
They give these little moments to people who grab onto and hold for life, and that's their nostalgic moments for those little empty love songs.
Right. I mean, I think that that empty love songs are very effective.
We put on Buddy Holly's every day.
Effective fantasies.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah.
Do you find comedians have the problem that if they want to be taken seriously, it's a lot harder. You know, we're talking about people laughing at all the fun. And because of what persona has come out of the Father John Misty era of your life,
right.
Is that a problem for you, that when you're trying to get these points across and this stuff is out there, nobody knows whether they're supposed to be laughing or not?
I mean, I get called pretentious. I mean, look at the comment thread below right now. I get called pretentious and whatever all the time, but I don't know.
I don't take it as pretentious. I mean, I really.
But I mean when I try when
you're a smart guy.
You know, it's like, well, I'm. Oh, thanks. I am like I don't know. I'm just I'm walking a tightrope, and I think that, you know, fuck you YouTubers, whatever you think about this, like what I'm doing is unprecedented. There's very little precedent for what I'm doing right now,
putting
because
everything out there. It's
everything
balls.
is entertainment right now, and that someone should actually have the gall to assert that like an artist is an artist because they are onto something that other people haven't picked up for themselves yet, and they're dedicated to like mining themselves and their own experience and unmasking in order to create some kind of emotional clarity for themselves and God forbid the culture, whatever. That's like very like very contrary to the zeitgeist. You know, I said zeitgeist. So
well, now we've got Josh riled up again.
So I think it's like, but you know, I think it's like I'm doing like I'm following my instincts.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes the best way to answer a question is with like a joke or a piece of irony. You know, I mean, that's sublime irony to me, is answering a question with a better question. You know,
you're obviously not doing anything wrong, because you're growing in success every time. You're connecting with millions of people. You know, the hater's gonna hate, as Taylor likes to say. But
poor Taylor.
Just wrapping a Taylor Swift referencing Father John Misty.
I have a new song that references Taylor Swift.
Do you?
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear it. And I should do that with the way our last interview ended. Do you know what you're going to do next? Is that next step?
Yeah.
I started wondering, and maybe even dreaming a little bit because of your move to New Orleans, and with all of the things we think about New Orleans, like, oh, I wonder if he's going to have like the brass on it and everything, like that style.
I kind of thought that too. Like I thought, well, I'm going to like vampirically move down to New Orleans and, you know, blood suck the culture. But it
like a voodoo album, you know? It's
you always like. I ended up, but that has not happened.
Yeah.
I've really am writing in a different way than I have for like a long time. I think that one of the unexpected byproducts of this like intimacy thing and having this like through the eyes of, you know, Emma and me and this thing that this like dialectic that we've committed ourselves to in terms of like unmasking whatever, this clarity has not, it's this clarity that I kind of have on myself. I'm kind of turning outward and writing about the world in a way. I mean, this next album is very just like.
Well, I feel like we got a little bit of that, like, I don't know if you're saying
Born
like
in the
True
US,
Affection and,
yeah.
Born in the USA.
But Born in the
True
USA
Affection,
and Holy Shit were definitely like we're definitely like a transition into this like thing that I'm doing now.
I think that excites me more than anything I've heard so far. Because I would love to hear that. I want to see that part of the world. I'd love to hear that thought, you know?
Yeah, it's a lot about, you know, like there's this, yeah.
I can't, we'll all be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another couple years away, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's all written.
3 months that we're on this record. I can't be rushing you.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Anyway, Josh, it's awesome, man.
Thanks, man.
Thanks you so much.
Yeah, of course.
I Love You Honeybear, and Sometimes I Love You Honeybee are both available and out there. It's a weekly feed. Father John Misty.